Most people think leopard geckos are just the safe, simple reptile choice, but that is why so many people underestimate them. When an animal looks manageable, people assume it must also be ordinary. It is not, and it shows. And by the end of this video, you may realize the reason leopard geckos win people over has less to do with being easy and more to do with how quietly impressive they are. And the last reason might explain why owners get attached faster than they expected. That matters, because when people reduce an animal to good for beginners, they stop seeing what makes it special. They miss the personality, the design, and the care details that reveal what this animal really is. So let's start with the first reason leopard geckos leave such a strong impression. They seem simple, but they are built to be handled better than many reptiles. If you have ever looked at a leopard gecko and thought, that one looks calm, you are seeing only part of the story. Most people assume they are popular because they are small and easy to keep, but what stands out is how approachable they can feel in your hands. Many are calm, steady, and less chaotic than animals that leap or panic the second you touch them. Leopard geckos move in a way that feels surprisingly manageable. They do not have the sticky toe pads many other geckos use for climbing smooth surfaces, so when they walk on you, they are not clinging like tiny acrobats vanishing up the wall. They are more grounded, more deliberate. You support them from underneath instead of rescuing them from your curtains. That changes the whole feeling of handling them. So handle them gently, stay underneath their body, and let their movements set the pace. But their calm reputation still hides something else people rarely expect. They are not emotionless little reptiles. Maybe you imagine reptiles as quiet, unreadable animals that simply exist in your room, but leopard geckos break that assumption in small ways that feel strangely intimate. They can vocalize, especially when startled, and unlike many geckos, they blink. That sounds like a tiny detail, but it changes the way people connect with them almost instantly. Blinking makes them feel less distant to human eyes. A tiny sound of protest, a visible pause, and suddenly the animal no longer feels like a decorative terrarium pet. It feels present. And when an animal feels present, people pay closer attention. They begin to notice mood, confidence, hesitation, and routine. So if your leopard gecko seems expressive in ways you did not expect, that is not you imagining things. Pay attention to those tiny moments. They are part of why this species stays with people. And the next reason is even more important, because it explains why easy does not mean careless. Their care is simple in the right hands, but unforgiving in the wrong ones. Have you ever heard someone say, leopard geckos are easy, and assumed that means low effort? Their temperature needs are reasonable. Their setup is not extreme compared with many reptiles. But simple does not mean optional. They still need regular feeder insects, supplementation, access to water droplets through misting, and enough humidity support to shed properly. If those details are ignored, small problems become serious ones. Stuck shed around the toes can lead to real damage. Poor supplementation can create long-term health issues. They still depend on you noticing details. Leopard geckos are not difficult because they demand chaos. They are rewarding because they ask for attentiveness. Build a setup you can maintain. Learn their rhythms. If this is already changing how you see this animal, subscribe. We make these videos to help animal lovers understand what makes these animals so special. But there is something deeper still. Their bodies reveal just how perfectly adapted they are. Maybe you have noticed that thick tail and thought it was just a cute design choice. It is not. That tail stores fat, which helps this desert species handle leaner times. It is not just a feature, it is a survival strategy you can see with your own eyes. Once you realize that, leopard geckos stop looking like simple little lizards and start looking like specialized animals shaped by harsh conditions. A healthy, well-filled tail can reflect stored energy. A dropped tail can regrow, but not exactly the same way. And because they are not eager to lose that stored resource, they are generally less prone to tail dropping than some other geckos, though rough handling or accidents can still trigger it. That is not a random quirk, that is biology meeting environment. So stop seeing their body as decoration. It is information. Watch the tail. Watch their movement, handled with care. Respect how small they are. Because one of the most misunderstood parts of leopard geckos is not their beauty, it is their fragility.
They are hardy, but they are not indestructible. This is where many owners get overconfident. Because leopard geckos have a strong reputation, people assume they can tolerate sloppy choices. But hardiness is not the same as invincibility. These geckos are little. They can be injured by falls, squeezed by careless hands, and harmed by unsafe substrate choices that people keep repeating. Loose sand is one of those mistakes. It can contribute to shedding trouble and can become dangerous if ingested. Even a setup that looks beautiful can work against the animal if it ignores how the animal actually lives. What your leopard gecko needs is not a fantasy desert scene, it needs safety. So do not treat them like glass, but do treat them like a living system with limits. Protect them from falls, choose safer substrate, watch the toes during sheds. Understand that beginner-friendly still requires respect. And the last reason may be the one that stays with you most. They make people fall in love because they are accessible without feeling ordinary. Why do so many people end up recommending leopard geckos over and over again? Most people think it is only because they are affordable, available, and easier to set up than larger reptiles. That is true, but it is not the full story. The deeper reason is that they give people a real sense of connection without demanding overwhelming space, money, or complexity. They feel possible, and possibility matters. There are many color varieties. They are widely available. The upfront cost is often reasonable. The enclosure does not need to be massive to be proper. All of that lowers the barrier. But what makes that powerful is what happens next. Once people live with them, they see the animal they chose for practical reasons also has charm, presence, and quiet charisma. That surprise is where attachment grows. And maybe that is the real secret. Leopard geckos do not demand your admiration in loud ways. They earn it in small ones. In the way they blink, in the way they walk with careful little steps, in the way their body tells the story of where they come from. In the way a reptile many people expect to feel distant ends up feeling strangely personal. So yes, leopard geckos may be one of the best pet reptiles, not just because they are manageable, not just because they are available, not just because they are affordable, but because they quietly combine approachability, resilience, fascinating biology, and an understated presence many people never see coming. Once you notice that, the label beginner reptile starts to feel far too small. Sometimes the animals people underestimate are the ones that leave the deepest mark.